Hey guys, hey guys, what I wanted to do here is a bit of a video about Sekiro or Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, which as you might know is the newest game from Software, the Japanese legendary game maker who made Demon Souls and Dark Souls and Bloodborne. And I decided to leave the cinematic in here because I think it's pretty beautiful, and I also left the language to Japanese, which I think just sounds a bit cooler than having the voices in English. And for context, this is basically the main enemy, Genishiro, who is probably some kind of samurai prince. It's not really clear sometimes, the story. And basically we play as a shinobi who's kind of a ninja-like sword fighter, and we basically are loyal to the so-called divine hair, who is the small kid who initially I thought was a girl, but it's a boy. So here I killed Genishiro. Usually I think you're supposed to die here, but this is my second playthrough. This is on New Game Plus. And here my arm is being cut off. Usually you just lose the fight because you don't have as many heals as I have, and then he cuts your arm off as well. And you will see now what happens next. And yeah, I think this field is pretty nice. It somehow reminds me of Neo a bit, where there was also some difficult fights in some grass fields similar to this. And yep, so they're taking away our master, the divine hair, who has the dragon blood. So just for information, there might be some spoilers in this video. So if you want to play it and don't want to have anything spoiled, you might want to skip this video, but it's pretty cryptic anyways. So as you can see here, we're not actually dying, but we're being rescued by some old man, some mysterious old man who carves Buddha status. And this is us, the main character. We're called Wolf, or we're being named Sekiro later on. And as you can see here, we wake up with a prosthetic arm, which looks pretty cool, by the way. By the way, you might hear some raindrops. It's raining here in my room, which is the perfect weather for gaming, I think. So yeah, this guy's gonna help us throughout the game, and we're gonna be able to fit new prosthetic tools to our hand and have different effects. So this is basically the bonfire of this game, which looks pretty cool. It's some kind of temple, and there's gonna be a merchant later on and some kind of healer who helps us, kind of like the firekeeper in Dark Souls. And this is kind of nice as well. This is a guy who we can train with, which is pretty useful at the beginning of the game. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna just go ahead and go into the first village, so to say, the first area, which is called Ashina Outskirts. So the whole game basically plays in Ashina, as far as I can tell. There's gonna be some different districts, and as you can see, I think the landscape is pretty beautiful. I really liked it. I mean, the graphics aren't top-notch, but that's not what this game is about. It's about gameplay and atmosphere. And I'm not gonna fight all the time, but I'm gonna do some fights because, as you can tell, they're a bit loud and not super relaxing, but that's just the way it is. I think there's definitely some art to this game because as you can see, contrary to Dark Souls game, you're actually able to not only jump but also use a grappling hook, which is very important throughout the game. So the game is not only designed horizontally but also vertically, which is obviously much more difficult. So here you can already see the different areas of the game. I'm looking around in which you're going to be able to travel to throughout the game, and everything is interconnected, similarly to Dark Souls. So this is me fighting an ogre, and for some reason I didn't backstab him, because usually you can backstab these kind of mini bosses, but I was too lazy for that. And actually this mini boss, you can see on the top left corner, has 2 lives, so you have to kill him twice, so to say. And he's very susceptible to fire because he has red glowing eyes. And this is why he's not that much of a threat to me in this instance. And yeah, this is already, I skipped some enemies, but I didn't fight all of them. And as you can see in the top corner, that's his posture, and as soon as his posture is broken, I'm able to do a finishing move, which takes 1 of his lives away. And yeah, this posture is really a key element of the game, not only the enemy's posture, but your own posture. And as this is my 2nd playthrough, this is New Game Plus, I have the feeling that I'm losing my posture quicker. But still, all in all, I think the game seems to be pretty easy. I haven't died so far, and knowing the enemies and knowing the mechanics is a huge help. This is definitely the case. This is me fighting some mini-boss samurai, and I'm trying the Mikiri counter, but I actually kind of suck. So I'm not gonna go through the whole mechanics of the game. It's just about maybe enjoying the nice fight scenes, but also enjoying the cool landscape. I think it's pretty nice. Definitely Japanese influences. I mean, it's playing in some kind of, I guess, former samurai era. And I really like it. I don't know, I like the setting. I liked it in Neo already, and I like it here as well. And this is basically after the first area. You come here and you're gonna see a huge snake. And you're not able to kill the snake now. You're actually able to kill it later, but it's kind of tricky. You have to do a few things to do that. And I just wanted to show you how it looks like. But instead of going away, I'm just waiting for it to kill me now, which is a bit stupid, but just to show you the death mechanic, because I'm not actually really dying here. So this is basically, now I have the chance to die fully or to resurrect, which is usually the best choice. And I'm not going to read this here, but this is the main difference to Dark Souls. When you're being killed, you're not getting back right away to the bonfire, or to the last Buddha statue in this case, but you have 1 life, or actually 2 sometimes, but you have to wait a bit. As you can see in the bottom left corner above my health bar, now I basically, if I get killed now, I'm dead for good, so to say, and I have to restart at the last Buddha statue. But if I wait a while, and if I kill some enemies, I'm gonna be able to revive again. Which does sound kind of easier than Dark Souls, but it isn't at all. So here I'm basically running away from the snake, and it's pretty scary. And at the beginning I wasn't sure what to do, but here the snake is gonna come closer and I'm gonna be able to backstab his eye, so to say. So this sound isn't super relaxing, I guess. But I actually have to flee pretty quickly because this snake is gonna come back at me pretty aggressively. So I'm basically now on my way to Ishina Castle, where the main story happens and where I'm gonna spend most of my time, which is kind of like the central hub of the game, and which is also beautifully designed, with very tall buildings. So this is me in the next area, and I'm basically in front of the castle gates of Ashina Castle here. And this is one of the weirder enemies. I mean, up until now, most enemies were actual humans mostly, but the more and more you play, the more you will encounter enemies who look more Kafkaesque or like some kind of horror movie, or similar to Bloodborne or Dark Souls, you could say. But I mean, the amount of human enemies is much larger, and most enemies do have swords or spears in this game, which the central element of this game is sword fighting, or fighting with katanas, and being able to parry at the right time and being able to use your prosthetics at the right time. But really, parrying is so key in this game. It's without mastering parrying, you have no chance, basically. So yeah, I'm not even collecting all the stuff here. I'm basically just trying to show you the game and what it looks like. And this is me walking around picking up some items. This is a healing item. This is close again, the typical Dark Souls problem that doors are closed from one side. So this is actually the first real boss. He's some kind of big, huge guy on a horse. So I think the battlefield looks cool. And later on in this game, you're gonna be able to fight a demon of hatred here, which is maybe the hardest boss in the game. And I defeated him yesterday. So yeah, instead of I don't know why I'm not attacking him here. I kind of want to show how cool he looks. And what you want to do here against this boss is use this kind of powder, which is gonna scare the horse. And here I already took one of his lives, and I'm about to take his second life, which I'm doing here. This is me taking his life. I actually, yeah, didn't do a super job, but whatever. So I think this looks pretty cool. I mean, all of this plays in an era where different clans in Japan fight each other. I mean, obviously it's a fantasy world, but it's obviously based on feudal Japan. I guess this kind of ninja area where, what's his name? Nobunga and these guys were practically fighting each other, different clans fighting each other. So here I'm gonna show something funny. This is a special shinobi technique which allows me to control the mind of this enemy for a while. And as you can see here, his eyes are glowing and blue here, which basically is gonna lead to these guys fighting each other for a while, which is kind of funny. So yeah, here I fought this bull, which is a pretty annoying enemy, but what I can recommend here is as well using the dowsing powder, but also try to trap him in this small area here, because he's not gonna be able to run into you so crazy. So yeah, this is me already finishing him off. this is not a very nice fight to watch because basically you always just you don't see much. It's pretty difficult to keep your cool or keep a good view on the enemy. So basically now this is Ishina Castle, the main, let's say the main hub of the game, and I think it's beautiful how you can jump on all these beautiful Japanese traditional houses. And we're not able to go in through the main gate though. We have to actually go through these large buildings, and I think this landscape is beautiful. This is where we came from basically. Kind of reminds me of the Swiss Alps, or probably also the Japanese also have large mountains, but I haven't been there yet. So I'm planning to go to Japan in September, and I'm really looking forward to. Obviously it doesn't look like this, but still I have a great admiration for the culture and also the kind of art they produce as being exemplified by this beautiful piece of art, because to me it is a piece of art. So what I'm doing here, I'm doing something a bit dangerous. I'm trying to get the samurai away from the rest, because fighting the samurai while getting shot at by these firearm guys is not a good idea. And this is why in general what you want to do in this game is not fight multiple enemies at the same time. This is not a good idea at all. So what you want to do is at least separate the big ones from the smaller ones, which I'm doing here. So now fighting the firearm guys one-on-one is not a big deal. And as you can see, if you come close to them, it's much easier. So now what I can do is I can wait a bit, and what I would even recommend here is wait a bit, so the big samurai who has 2 health is gonna turn his back on me. So I'm gonna wait for him to come up here, I'm gonna sneak behind him, and I'm gonna backstab him. For whatever reason here, the backstab didn't work. This is one of the few times, I don't know. Maybe he was too far away here, so I guess no, I'm too lazy. I'm gonna fight him, or at least try to fight him for his 2 lives, because this is actually not a super easy enemy. He has some very swift moves, but yeah, it's doable. In this game there are some really tough human mini bosses. The hardest one is probably a guy with a spear called 7 Spear Ashina or something. He does insane damage. I guess most enemies in this game can basically kill you with 2 sword hits, which is kind of unfair if you start off. But if you get to know this game a bit better, and if you have a bit more experience, then it's actually really fair. It's I guess you could say the difficulty in general is higher than in Dark Souls and in Bloodborne as well, because frankly some bosses like the final one or the Demon of Hate, I tried them 30 times maybe until I beat them. So, and I'm experienced in Dark Souls, and I would say I'm not a super bad gamer in general, but somebody who's not experienced, I mean, I heard of people who can't even beat this giant guy at the beginning. So if you can't beat the giant guy, sorry, this game is probably too hard for you. But at the same time, I think it's still fair, because after a while you get to know the movesets, you know when to block and when to attack, and you also, my big advantage here is I already have 10 healing items, healing gourds, which you can see in the top bottom right corner, which obviously is a big help, because usually you only find these healing items after a while. So you start off with only 1 or 2 or 3 healing items. So yeah, this is me enjoying the beautiful view again. I don't know what this burning thing is in the corner, if you know this. Yeah. So here there's going to be some crow enemies. Or I don't know if they're crows, but they're pretty interesting. guess I'm doing something a bit risky. I'm fighting two enemies at the same time, but it does work here. So yeah, whenever you kill enemies, you get money and you also get experience, which you can use to level up different skills, but you also get these spirit emblems, which you can see in the bottom right, which allow you to use your special prosthetic abilities. Which also means if you use your prosthetic abilities too much, you're gonna deplete this and then you're not gonna be able to use them. So that's pretty mean that you're not really able to use prosthetics so much. There's one dagger which you can get by killing a special warrior, special mini-boss, that allows you to trade vitality for this. So yeah, I didn't know that you can die from a suicide bomber, but here you can see the dynamic. Here I'm gonna resurrect, but this is, yeah. I don't know what this was. This was some guy flying in from a kite. Just to show you how unfair this game can sometimes be. Not really unfair, but yeah, it can be pretty tough sometimes if you explore everything. So here, this is me fighting a mini-boss. You have to really time his attacks well because he does really do a shitload of damage. As you can see here, basically all of his attacks basically take 3/4 of my life away, which is pretty insane, but it's just the way it is. Yeah, I'm not doing so well here. I'm too close. You have to always basically keep your distance, not really attack him at all. Just try to perfectly time his swords so you can block them, which is automatically gonna fill your posture meter, or his posture meter up. So yeah, this is me. I'm already at the first mini boss, actually larger boss, or actually the second one after the guy on the horse, but I'm gonna have to fight Genichiro again. This is the guy from the beginning, and this is probably one of the tougher fights at the beginning. I mean, this is still early game basically, but many people have problems with him, and even I sometimes still struggle with him, but I think this case I'm gonna be able to beat him at my first try. And yeah, so yeah, this is maybe the only kind of disadvantage in this game, is that you sometimes, they kind of recycle enemies, similarly to Neo, but I find it not bad at all. But what you will see is that they recycle mini bosses, and you basically, most bosses you will fight a few times, which is fine by me. As I said, they did the same in Neo, and I didn't find it too bad at all. But I guess in Dark Souls sometimes you will have a bit more of a variety, but I'm sure the developers, as far as I'm concerned, they still created a masterpiece here, something with really a new mechanic for sword fights, and sometimes it really looks epic. I mean, when the swords clash and you basically are able to perfectly read the enemy, so to say, it becomes a lot of fun. So if you like difficult games, not too difficult, but challenging games, and if you like this whole Japanese culture thing and the whole shinobi and samurai era, you will really love this game. So yeah, I'm talking and you're not even able to enjoy the story, but I don't want to spoil too much. But basically, he wants to take the blood from the divine hair, the small child, because he also wants to become invincible, so to say, and being able to resurrect. He wants the dragon's blood, so to say, and the kid doesn't want to give it away. That's the main story. And yeah, I think I'm gonna leave in the fight against Genichiro, and you can see me suck a bit. I tried to do this counter thing where I step on the weapon, but I didn't really succeed. And you can see here sometimes the fights are just really long, just like the last fight. It can take up to 20 minutes sometimes, and you're not really allowed to make significant mistakes, which is probably the main difference to even Dark Souls, because even the longer fights wouldn't take you 20 minutes. So basically, it's also what I find so fascinating about this game is it's also psychological. After fighting like for 10 minutes and then his health bar being low, you still aren't allowed to make mistakes, and your heart is gonna pound and you're gonna be a bit sweaty at least. At least it was the case for me. So yeah, I think this is just me showing that I also screw up quite often. But as long as you keep focused, you can beat even the tougher enemies. But the crazy thing about this guy is he really does insane damage. So here I finally managed to do the Mikiri counter, which you can see it's one of the unlockable skills, and it basically reduces a lot of his posture. But yeah, his arrows do crazy posture damage. I don't know what this is, but yeah. What I like about this is the beautiful mountains that you see here, and there's gonna be actually another boss battle against a guy now named Owl here. Just a spoiler a bit, and this one is gonna be even harder. So the boss Owl was one of the hardest as far as I'm concerned, and it took me probably also 20 to 30, or maybe 30 tries to beat him, so he's very tough. He does a shitload of damage and has a huge weapon. So yeah, as you can see, you're not allowed to be impatient. You have to, little by little, chip his health away, because the lower the health he has, the faster his posture is being broken. And when his posture is being broken, you basically can finish him with a finisher move. I don't know, this was a mistake here. I don't know why I tried this kind of move here. So whenever you see this red Japanese dot, this means a sign above his head, this means he's gonna do an unblockable attack. And you have to find the right response. And this is the tough thing about this game. In Dark Souls, you basically just had to dodge at the right time and then attack. But in this game, you have to not only dodge at the right time, but also jump if need be, if the enemy is doing an unblockable swipe attack. Or you basically have to run away for some enemies as well. There's much more options, and this makes it much more difficult sometimes to find the right response. And this is pretty mean, because after killing him for 2 health, for 2 lives, he still comes back. And he's basically transforming into some kind of evil, lightning producing version of himself, and this is basically what makes this game sometimes a bit unfair, because there can be up to 4 phases for enemies, and obviously you're really gonna be pissed if you die just at the end. And I'm actually don't do a really good job at countering his lightning attacks here, because yeah, there's actually a way to reflect them back, and I'm trying that, but I kind of screw up. As you can see here, I should have just avoided the attack, and I don't know, just to show his cool attacks here. I let myself be killed. But yeah, in general, this phase isn't actually so much different from the other ones, except that he has a few lightning attacks, and a few different attacks, like like a flurry of sword hits, but I'm really not doing a great job here at evading his attacks in general, but that's just the way it is. I mean, if you become a bit nervous or something, this game is gonna get pretty tough. So you have to keep your focus up and not get too distracted. So this is how you should avoid it, or just run towards him when he does the lightning attack. So yeah, this is me trying my best to beat him actually. There's actually also a lot of different consumables that you can use to help with your fights. Like for instance, stuff that increases your damage or your posture, but I haven't used it so much. Yeah, this was really bad. He actually killed me. So I did screw up pretty bad here, but at least it's my first try, so and he's a bit tougher here, so I'm okay with that. I don't pretend like I'm a pro gamer. So yeah. So as you can see, the whole landscape has changed, and this happens a few times. It's not as sunny anymore, like it's basically a storm came up, and this will happen later as well. It will become night actually, and this is why I had to start a new game, because basically all the cool landscape and the scenery didn't look as friendly because it was all pretty dark, because the game progressed so far. I think this is Emma, one of the main characters, and just to spoil a bit, if you choose the evil way, there's different endings. You will have to fight her as well. And as you can see, we didn't fully kill Genichiro. He has a very strong will, and has to be some magic involved. There's many other beautiful areas in this game, like a temple and a forest, and with some Buddha statues. And if you're interested, if you enjoyed this, I'm happy to show it to you. I did fight a bit more than I wanted to initially, but I hoped you were able to enjoy the scenery as well, and the beautiful mountains. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can write me a comment, or if you want to see more gameplay ASMR, please leave me a comment and subscribe. And yeah, I think this view is beautiful, the whole castle.